being good at everything is a real puzzle. And the reason it's a real puzzle is because it can be hard to discern which direction, what thing to choose, what to commit your whole being to if you don't know what you could be excellent at. And being good at so many different things and there being so many different paths out there just causes confusion. So I wanted to tell you about some of the insights that I've gathered in working with people that have worked through this, and I myself have worked through this, and how we went about it to get to a place where we could actually move forward and pursue our path with conviction. And my name is Joe Yuli. I'm a philosopher. I'm absolutely obsessed with vocations, callings, paths. That's why I help people to choose the right career path with conviction in our online community and 8-week course, where people unearth their very own career archetype and they know which path to choose. I also educate people here on YouTube, Substack, a podcast called the Career Archetypes Podcast. And I do that because every single person has a calling. And it's just about bringing this to attention because so many people don't know their calling. So many people are on temptation paths. It's really just this duty that I have to help people to know what their path is. And this idea of being really good at so many different things starts off in life as a blessing. It starts off in life as a blessing because when you're taking your report card home to your parents and you're showing them like, look, I got an A in English, in history, in maths, in physics, in biology, in art, and you have all these different things that you are excellent at, and you get applauded for that, right? It just builds on itself. And oftentimes people that have this, they also have this ability to widely be intelligent on many different things. And they can just step into all these different arenas, sort of pick up the basic fundamentals and be good at it. And this is a blessing. In the beginning, like I said, you're getting applauded. You have this sense of, oh, I can do all these different things. I can do anything I set my mind to. Things are going great. Until, as you start to go through the process later on in high school and university, in moving into the world of work, you start to have to make selections. You can't do everything anymore. And this might be having to figure out some core subjects during high school. This might be, going into university and they say you've got to start to pick a major now. Even a double major, you still have to select against different subjects, different modes of learning, of being. And then later on, when you're going and looking for work or if you're starting your own thing, there's still selections that need to be made. And so what was originally this blessing starts to turn into a curse because you're good at so many different things. Well, how am I going to tell or know which things I should choose? And that can be really difficult and tricky for people. I myself, I went through this as well. I got so many different good grades and would take these home to my parents and they would applaud it and I'll be like, oh, I can just do anything. I can throw me in and to do a history essay, I'll do that, I'll get an A. Now throw me into PE, physical education, I'll get an A. Throw me into computer science or computer, I created a website in one of the classes, I think it was information technology, got an A. Right, I just was able to be thrown into all these different arenas and be good at everything, but it led to later on wondering, should I go ahead and pursue computer science? Should I go ahead and pursue, learning more about history? Should I go ahead and pursue being a PE teacher? There were so many different potential ways to go about my path, and it was not very clear on what to do. And yeah, I knew people at school, and this is going to lead us to our very first lesson as to how to start to know, how to move through this and really start to pursue your path. I knew people in high school who were shocking, rubbish, horrible at all these different subjects, but they had maybe like one or two subjects that they were just amazing at. There was a guy who was just amazing at creating games on the computer, and that's sort of all he did. But you throw him in to do an essay, rubbish. Throw him in to do cooking food, rubbish. Throw him into having to recall information such as in a biology exam, rubbish, right? Just couldn't do it. But when he was creating games on the computer, it was just next level. And he always got the top mark. There was another guy that I remember, and he was just amazing at maths and just would be killing it at maths. But the moment he entered any of the humanities or the arts, just absolute rubbish. And there was this contrast for them. And because of that contrast, right, the kid that was able to create video games didn't go ahead and select, I want to go and become a chef. He didn't go ahead and select, I want to become a psychologist. When it came to him selecting, he was like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and create video games. Right? It was very obvious. The kid that did mathematics, same thing. He didn't go ahead and say, I want to go and do graphic design. I want to go ahead and be someone that teaches history. He was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do something that has to do with maths. And it was very clear for them on what to go ahead and select. So this is the first lesson. They had contrast, right? They had contrast because they were told in very obvious ways, you are not good at this subject or this subject or this subject or this subject. You're really amazing at this subject over here. And we just look at the results. And so whilst these kids took home these reports that showed like not very good at all these other subjects, but this subject is really great. And maybe the parents said, well, you got to pick it up in English, got to get better at reading and writing, got to get better at creating art. They had very clear contrast that showed them, you're better at this, you're not as good at these things, you should probably do that thing over there that you're good at as you start to select your path. Now, this is something that people who are very good at many different things and have this feeling of, if I commit myself to this thing, I can be really great, don't have. They don't yet have the contrast needed in order to properly understand where they sit in relation to the rest of the world. And you can think about this through this sort of metaphor of light and darkness, right? The people that were able to select their path easier at a younger age, they had contrast. They had an awareness of what they were good at and what they weren't good at. People that feel as though they're good at everything, they don't have that contrast yet. They haven't come across other people that are just vastly better at them in a particular domain. It's very funny. I had done amazingly well in mathematics right up until year 12 when I came into contact with this guy that I mentioned who was really amazing at maths. And by being in contact with him was the first time I started to question, like, should I actually pursue maths? I had never had that contact with someone who was just, way better. I was struggling with something. He had done it in like 2 minutes. It was just like, yeah, that one's super easy. And I was like, this one's hard. And having that contrast with someone got me to reflect, do I actually want to endure this? Now, this isn't to say that if something is hard or if you find someone else that is just amazing at something, that you shouldn't go ahead and pursue that. But it is to say that if it is your calling, you'll be willing to endure it because you're obsessed with it. If it's not your calling, you're going to say, like, yeah, I don't really know. I'm unsure now. I don't know if I'm willing to really devote myself to this. Right? It gets you to question your pursuit. Kobe Bryant had this sort of famous saying, it was quite funny, where he said that he would play basketball against people, and as he was playing against them, he wanted to dominate them in such a way where they questioned their life choices. Now, I don't want you to experience that external pain of somebody that is so amazing at you that you want to question your life choices, but I instead want you to go and seek that contrast. Seek all these different things that you're potentially good at, right? All these different things that you might potentially pursue and you think like, hey, if I commit myself to this, I could be amazing. Go and seek some people that are actually amazing at it and see what they're doing, see what they're up to, see what their path is like. And then by where you're at in comparison to them, it can give you some guidance on, do you actually want to pursue this thing? Now, this leads me to the second part, which is enduring something, right? Really pursuing it no matter what. And this is something else that is really important if you think that you're good at many different things and could potentially be good at everything, is that when you find your calling, you are willing to endure everything for it. Because you're not just simply just trying to be good at it for the sake of the craft itself. You feel compelled to do it no matter what. And when you start to look at all these different things that you could potentially be good at, if you extrapolate them out to what their potential realized looks like, and you look at that really intently and ask yourself, what do I look like in that potential? And you don't really want it that much, then being good enough isn't good enough. Pursuing that because of that isn't good enough. Meaning that you need something higher and deeper. You need something that connects with you on a soul level. So this is the difference between being capable and finding your calling. Being good at something does not mean you should pursue it. Being good at something does not mean that that is the thing that you're meant for. Being good at something just means that you're good at something. That's it. You need to go a level deeper in order to connect into what it is that you're meant for in this lifetime. Right? So we can take a particular craft. Let's say you think and you look on YouTube and you're like, you know what? I could be a YouTube content creator and I could be an influencer. And if I really put my mind to that, I could absolutely do that. Right? And I've already seen, on other social media channels that they pick up, and I know that if I went all in on that I could be amazing at that. That's one way of looking at it. But if you look at it through the lens of, okay, if in 30 plus years, my legacy, my life's work is a successful YouTube channel, is that enough for you? Is that going to really compel you to go through posting hundreds of videos online in order to arrive at a point where you are that thing? Now, if the answer is yes, then maybe you're onto something here, right? Maybe this is an area that transcends all these other areas. But if it's no, it might be something that you use as a tool for your calling, but it's not the thing, right? You can't anchor yourself into it. You can't build a foundation on it. It's not at the core. It's an expression maybe thereof, but it's not the core. It's not the thing. So being good at something is not a good enough reason to pursue it full time. It's not a good enough reason for you to spend your mortal existence on, because we are mortals and we only have a finite amount of time to pursue our calling. And to spend your time pursuing something just because you could be good at it is not good enough. You need to find the thing. And it also shines light on this idea of excellence and being good. Right? There's a very famous sort of self-help book that goes around, which is you can learn anything within 20 hours. Don't know what the name of the book is. It's something like that. And the idea being that you can get really, really good at something within a very short amount of time if you sort of select the right fundamental principles and you get over this learning curve. Now, this points at being good. However, in studying vocations, and I've studied so many vocations, I've worked with so many people in pursuing their path. When you're talking about a vocation, you're talking about long, extended periods of devotion, of discipline, of pursuing something with intense commitment. Right? They often have and talk about this idea of the 10 dark years, where people will spend 10 years in the dark where no one really knows them, what they're doing. And then after that 10 years of intense focus, then suddenly their career starts to take off. People start to recognize them because they've put in this extended period of effort and work. And when we're talking about a calling versus just being good at something, if we don't understand that our calling requires these extended periods of intense effort and deliberate practice is the more technical term, then we can end up being good at something but never experiencing those higher levels of what the calling actually demands of us. And so if you are someone that is looking at all these different areas that you're potentially good at, you can start to ask these questions like, would I pursue this thing for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? For the majority of those things, it is no. It's like, hell no, I'm not going to go and do mathematics for 10, 20, 30 plus years with intense, deliberate focus. You might start looking at painting. Hell no, am I going to start learning the craft of painting for that period of time. But then you might stumble on something. You might stumble on an area. For me, I stumbled on philosophy, and I could just realize, like, yeah, I could easily 10 years. 10 years actually isn't enough. And this is a funny thing that happens when you contact the calling, right? You hit the spot. It's like, that's not enough time. I want to spend more time. I want to spend 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, a lifetime of work. And when you start to tap into that, then you're onto something, right? It might not be the specific field, but you're onto something. So there's these two different ideas. The first one is you need to seek contrast with the world, because contrast with the world and comparing yourself with the world will get you to reflect on the worthiness of the path. I know a lot of people say, do not compare yourself. There's a place for that, but you need to compare yourself with the world because it will question you and say, are you sure? Are you sure you want to pursue this? Because that's the level, right? Being good enough isn't good enough when you're actually pursuing the path with depth and devotion. You need excellence. And so that's one. And the other one is to really tap into, are you willing to devote yourself to this thing? And if you go through all these different areas that are good, but they're not the thing, then that's okay. Get rid of them. Erase them, right? Start from the foundation. So get rid of them, clear space, and seek out something that is good enough, right? So if you go through all these different things that you could be good at and nothing has the thing, right? And it's frustrating and it's annoying, and for some reason, like, it just doesn't work, that's okay. Don't contort yourself into an area that you don't fit. Get rid of them, remove them from the board, and really start to explore what this could potentially be for yourself. I typically advise to explore this in two ways. One is through your own self-knowledge, gathering different components of yourself through self-knowledge. And then the second part is to synthesize that self-knowledge, which will give you an understanding of what the path actually starts to look like. So there's this gathering, and then there's this synthesis or integration that shows you how it all coheres together. I talk about that in more depth within our unearthing process and our online community, but that's the basics of it, like the fundamentals of it. Now, finding that thing does require discerning all these different things that you could be pretty good at. And you really have to look at it and say, okay, look, if I pursued that thing at the highest level, really pushed, what does my life look like? And do I want my life to look like that? And really breaking it down, right? If I'm looking at a field that I saw and thought, like, I could be pretty good at that, it was music, I started to play out what that looks like. And I thought to myself, that's not for me. At its limits, right? At its highest potential, that's not mine. That's not for me. I wasn't asking, can I be good at this? I was asking, on a deeper level, on an individual level, is this for me? So you have to be able to, one, know yourself well enough to know whether that is for you or not. That doesn't mean you've got to test everything out or try everything, right? A lot of people will say this idea of, if you just taste everything, then you will know. It's not how that works. That often doesn't give you the clarity that you need. Doing deep introspective work gives you insight into if that is yours or not. The second thing you've got to ask is an external factor, right? Given that other people are pursuing this path at a really high level, right? Can I still, and do I still want to go ahead and pursue this? Most people don't. When they start to look at the world and say, okay, I'm going to look at someone that's pursuing that path, and, oh, well, look at the level that they're at, it doesn't inspire them. It actually causes them to be like, that's too hard, because they're not willing to go through it, because it's not really their calling. Because when it's your calling, you'll start to realize through devotion that you have to go through it, right? You're willing to endure some form of pain, because the vocation transcends between pleasure and pain and asks more of you, as opposed to, does this just feel good or does this not feel good? And what this will do is it will allow you to be able to go all in on something. It will allow you to go beyond this place of feeling like you've got to choose between different things that seem the same, right? We need to really see, Are they the same? Or is one vastly superior than all the rest? And to do that, you need contrast. And if you're interested in learning more about how to unearth your very own career archetype and choose the right career path with conviction, you want to go ahead and check out our online community and 8-week course. Inside, you'll see a community of people that are pursuing, learning, coming into awareness of what their calling actually is. By going through this unearthing process, we start to look at all the different perspectives on who you are as an individual. And we use these different lenses to understand that. We use things like Jungian psychology, biography, life mythology, decoding your interest, astrology. We look at these different psychological hurdles that you might be facing. We bring that up so that you don't get stuck or you spin your wheels trying to figure this out. And we really get to what are you meant to be doing in this lifetime? And that allows you to choose the right career path with conviction and to know your very own career archetype. And then we show you and guide you on how to actually walk it in the world, right? So you have your career archetype, but what does that look like in the 21st century? Do you need to start a business? Do you need to work for a particular type of organization? How are you going to earn money? What does the lifestyle need to look like? What would you like it to look like? How does that work? How do we get you there? What are the steps? We cover all this inside. So if you're interested, check it out in the link below.